California looks at itself as the savior to all other states. All the other states don't know what they're doing, and here we're going to show you. And so, not my rules. That's how they think. But the whole idea is they want to take care of the employee. They look at employers, corporations. They look at the employers. You're trying to suck all the juice out of your employees and pay them nothing. And so they put protections in line. The biggest piece of advice that I ever got and never had to use, but I completely agree with, is don't change anything for at least 90 days, 6 months if you can, because it freaks everyone out. The client doesn't want to talk to me. I will look at it very black and white. Here's the contract. Here's how much you owe. If you want to try to work it out, you need to talk to our team, but otherwise it stops with me. Our contracts are about 30 pages because we go through options and cool things, and it's long. But the point is, I've had this conversation many a times. I have 30 pages of what I'm going to do. And then at the bottom of one is what you're going to do, which is you pay this amount. That's it. That's all I'm asking of you. And you have refused to do that.
Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm Jim Aline, and I'm here to bring you insights from top leaders in the roofing industry to help you grow and scale your roofing business.
Seth Larson from sunny San Diego. How are you today, man?
Wonderful. How's everything with you?
I'm a little envious, just a little jealous right now that I'm reaching out this way to just at least try to bring some sunshine into my life through the camera. Cause I'm up here in Minnesota in the dead of winter, shoveling snow. And, I just want the energy of someone that's at least near sun right now. So I appreciate you coming on, man.
No, thank you. And you and I talked, before this, our weather, not normally this warm, but it is in the high 70s, low 80s this week, which is weird. That's not normal. Usually we do get into the 40s, believe it or not. But yeah, not.
It does, man. Resilient Roofing, San Diego, California. How did you get into roofing?
No, good question. I always liked single trades, you could call it. I'm from the construction world, residential, really pretty heavy residential growing up, and was in construction, was a carpenter for many years, actually out in the field, and then went into more of the design side of residential remodeling. And then once I learned enough, what I thought, you learn everything or everything, right? He started a company. That was in 2006. I started a design build remodeling company. And then 2017, stepped out of that. It's still going. We still have an amazing team, but was able to replace myself is a good way to say it. And that allowed me to really focus on, all right, what's next? What's going on next? And I had that itch to build and grow, but I felt like the business model of design build we weren't like a massive company. It still isn't a huge company. We're doing single digit millions a year. But I wanted to grow something bigger than that. So anyway, I was looking at single trades. Roofing was always gone on the forefront, but found a really tiny company that was for sale, bought it, and then had been building it up ever since.
Yeah. What year was that?
So that was about 2018.
Okay.
We purchased that company.
So they were a small local company. You were on the design build side. Yeah, single trade is always a lot of times it's what'll pull in someone that came from that GC world, right? Like, exactly. Oh my goodness, I don't have to manage the electrician, the plumber, the drywaller, what attracted you specifically to roofing versus the design build?
No, it's so funny. I've talked to a bunch of people about that. I'm an EO, entrepreneurs organization, and you talk to those companies and they seem to think that, oh, you have two construction companies. It's like, no, they are two very different, completely different business models and customers and time frames. So anyway, to answer your question, that's kind of what it was, is you get used to design build where we're tearing these people's homes apart. We've very intimately, working next to them. Usually they move out, but the point is we get to know them very well over, 10 months, 12 months. And then roofing, for the most part, it's on the outside of the home. It's a few days, or a few weeks, depending on what kind of project. You get in quick, you get out quick, you get paid quick. Anyway, the point is yes, it's under the construction umbrella, but it's completely different. And that's what I was looking for. The other piece, um, I guess I was admittedly a little ignorant at first. I'm like, oh, this should be simple. It's a single trade. Well, that's not how it is. But compared to everything was on the table. HVAC was real hot right around that time. So that's actually kind of why I stayed away from it, because it was real oversaturated market. Plumbing, I always thought was a very good marketable skill set to have as a plumber, but much harder to train. There's so many different types of plumbing, you know what I mean? And different facets. And you have to know a little bit of framing, a little bit of drywall, and a little bit of, so that one's a longer learning curve. So anyway, there's a few sort of top runners, but the point is landed on roofing just because of my comfort level and familiarity with it. But also I felt like it gave us when I say us, it's my wife and I, gave us the vehicle in which we wanted to use in order to scale and build and teach and, that kind of thing.
Yeah. What, I mean, you'd had your design build company for well over a decade at that point. Um, you know, what were some of the things you saw on that side that you're like, yeah, this isn't where, I can't execute the vision that I want in this.
No, that's a good question. I guess really it comes down to each project is custom. It's exactly what the customer wants. That's the world I came from before that, was the designing it for them. So every project is a one-off. We design and then build one project. There's no duplicatability, if that's a word. You can't
Yeah.
rubber stamp anything. So we had, still have, at that team, designers, an architect to see the vision, through to the set of plans and permits, draftsman, um, an interior designer to help select all the materials, project manager that sort of builds the project before we even start and then oversees it on site. There's so many specialty skill sets that if, let's say, we wanted to double in size, I'd have to get all of those people again. But then on top of that, I'd have to have a leader for each department. So now you get all these layers. And then let's say you double that again or whatever. That's about as big as any company that I've ever come across in the design build world. It's right around the $30 million a year mark is about max. Maybe that's gone up with inflation or something. And that company that I'm specifically thinking about, it's up in LA. They do beautiful work. But like I say, to double that company, I think you're stretching thin the talent. You just can't, And the thing I found about artistic type of people is they're not trying to just bang out a bunch of stuff. They want to spend their time, and you know what I mean? And so the point is, I feel like there's a sort of a bit of a ceiling over that business model. Whereas with roofing, most people listening to this already know that if we wanted to double in size, I need double the field labor. Of course, I still got to install more. But as far as management, leadership, the trainers, the safety, that kind of thing, they all can sort of expand within, you know what I mean? It doesn't take a whole new skill or another layer of management or that kind of thing. Once you build your foundation, you can spread it wide as opposed to just keep, adding more people and then thinning out that talent. I don't believe that's true in this business model.
Yeah, and it the creative is hard to train.
Yes,
right. That the designer, that's a really hard, that's a really hard position to train people. People go to school for that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just for
it. Yeah, you don't fall into it.
Yeah, definitely. So so then 2018. Found a small local company the owner was retiring. It was like, man, there's an opportunity. How did that come about?
Before we carry on with the episode, let's give a shout out to one of our sponsors. Roofers, let's get real. You're great at building roofs, but are you great at building a steady stream of leads? That's where Job Nimbus Marketing comes in. They know the roofing industry inside and out, and they'll help you dominate Google, Facebook, reputation management, and everything in between. If you want more quality leads, more booked jobs, and more growth, visit the link in the description or the sponsors page on the Roofing Success Podcast website.
It was like, man, there's an opportunity. How did that come about?
Yeah, I did a little search, found a bunch of companies. I mean, you could go right on, I think it's bizbuysell.com, where you go to look for companies for sale. There's franchises, there's big companies, there's little companies. And this one, he didn't mislead me or anything at all, but I kind of thought I was buying a company with processes and, that kind of thing in it, and a good name. They did have a great name, but there really wasn't much of a repeat business or, actually, that's true with any roofing company. If you do a good job, you shouldn't have to go back out there unless someone moves, whatever. So had a good name, longevity, but there was no team. Obviously, the guy was retiring, so he taught me everything he knew, and then he was out. And then the bit of process, the way he did things worked for his size at the time. Where we were going, we had to tear him down and rebuild him. So anyway, long story short, looking back on hindsight, would I do it again? Maybe, maybe not. Might have made more sense just to start from scratch and build it the way we want. But no regrets. Here we are.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, just started sniffing around and found someone.
I always think it's interesting because you can start from scratch or you can build and boy, there's advantages to both, and and there's disadvantages to both, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
When you're taking over a company and there's a lot of restructuring that you're going to have to do, no matter how good the company is, and this was a smaller, a smaller shop. So there wasn't a lot of structure to begin with, probably, right?
That's exactly.
But now looking back, if you had to say what you bought, what is that?
Really, ultimately, what's left of that purchase is the company name. And so I no regrets. And the longevity. They've been around since 1967, and we kept that legacy. So like I say, no regrets at all. And I'm glad ultimately that we did go through. The other thing, like you'd mentioned, yeah, there's pros and cons of buying a company versus building one. But it also depends. If we were looking to, start off at 10 million a year, you'd have to find that company and buy it. I wasn't trying to do that. I wanted to, build it up a little more organically. But similarly, as we continue to give the listeners an idea, San Diego, most people know, but farthest southwest you can go in the U.S. So there's a little bit of opportunity to go east. There's some desert towns a little further east. And then obviously north, you can go all the way up the coast. Riverside, Inland Empire, Orange County, LA, if you've heard of those places. So we've talked a lot about internally, the next logical step would be to expand geographically. Right now, we still have some room to grow in our San Diego market. But then if we want to jump to, let's say, Orange County would be the easiest. It's only an hour away or so. Would we buy something and then combine everything? Or would we, I think the term is greenfield it, where we just start it, and move some of our team up there. And I have to say, it's not official yet, but as of now, based on everything you and I have just talked about, we've kind of decided as a company, we'll greenfield it. If you were to buy something now at our site, we're not massive, but now at our size, we have processes, we have, ways of doing things. So with that company, so then it'd be like the old way and the new way. And it just leads to people leaving. People feel like they're not being heard. If you go change everything, then they're like, what is this? I'm out of here. So you would buy something, and I've heard way too many stories of it just falls apart. To no one's fault, it just does. So anyway, we might as well take sort of ambassadors to the way we do things, which is our current team. Some of our team already live halfway between here and Orange County, so they wouldn't even mind. They've already raised their hand. So point is, we'll probably just start fresh with our team with a new location. That's kind of how we're leaning now.
For someone that is like, man, I think I'd like to buy one. Like, I'd like to buy my way in, but I'm not trying to buy a $10 million company. They're kind of, where you were like, oh, I'll buy this smaller company and I'll, kind of learn it and grow from there. What would you look for now?
No, that's a good question. I guess if I redid it, I would probably go about it that way. And again, assuming you have money to do it, right? You still got to pay
Yep.
something. And then the biggest piece of advice that I ever got and never had to use, but I completely agree with, is don't change anything for at least 90 days, 6 months if you can, because it freaks everyone out. Think about if you're working at a company and this new, whoever it is, new buyer comes in, everybody's scared. And they're looking, you know what I mean? Everyone's looking around like, do we have to leave? Are we out? Are we going to go out of business? What is it? And it's none of those things, but people can't help but just think. So the point is, I'd go in there, I'd just be one of the team. I'd work in each department. I'd meet everybody. I'd learn everything. Even if you're the owner, you got the owner badge on, just don't swing it around, learn everything, how they do it. Obviously, you're going to be making notes the whole time of things you're going to change. And that's great, but don't do anything for 3 to 6 months. And then sort of phase two of your answer to your question, that's a great question, is my advice would be make a list of everything you want to change, but then bring the whole team in on it. So it's not just like, all right, here's what we're doing. That's going to freak everyone out and they're going to dig their heels in. How about coming up with sort of a forum? Hey, what do you guys think that we're doing that's broken? I guarantee a few of those are going to match up. So at least it can be their idea. And then you're the person pushing for those, instead of just, hey, here's what we're doing. It's anyway, a lot more cohesive and teamwork.
No, I love that. To bring the team along, right? And you will find things that you want to change, and that's part of what you're going to be doing and buying the business is you're going to want to change things.
Exactly.
It's like that's you're going to want to grow and expand. Some people are not going to be as some people may be resistant to that growth.
Yes.
They're like, man, I've been doing this for 10 years and we've been the same size and we're fine. And I keep
We've been
getting
doing
my
fine.
paychecks. So why do I have to do more?
Exactly.
But I love that idea. And that's really, leadership, foundational leadership, is bringing people to your idea, right? You not telling them this is what we should do, but helping them to discover what needs to be done. And like you said, some of the things on your list are going to match up to what they say.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a great starting point, right?
Exactly.
That's a great starting point to start rolling. And even if you do expand the way you're talking about expanding and moving into Orange County or up towards Orange County, and that team is going to start to have some autonomy in that area too, and they're going to run into some challenges that they may not run into down in San Diego County, and you're probably going to have to, let them find some lessons themselves up there too.
Right. No, that's exactly right. And then the only other piece I could think of you kind of mentioned is, they're the boots on the ground. They're going to have some great ideas that maybe you haven't even thought about. And then any idea
Yeah.
that maybe they haven't touched that you still want to implement, bring it up to show them what it is, why you think it's broken, and then obviously how it's going to benefit them. But I say that, and it's wild to me how many people skip that step and they just want to steamroll into making a change.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, California is a little bit of a unique market. One of the things that's unique and will be unique to people listening is in most markets around the country, if you have in-house labor, if you have in-house crews, that you are the exception to the rule. In California, if you subcontract, you're the exception to the
Yes.
rule, right? So
Exactly.
I would, in the acquisition of the company, was that part of it? Like, oh, I'm going to buy like a trained crew at the same time. Like that was part of the what you were able to purchase with that.
No, great question. We looked at probably five, deep dive in five, but we looked at more than that. Different companies of various sizes, different costs, all these different things. And yes, some of them did come with their own crew, sales team, marketing team. I mean, they're various sizes.
Mm-hmm.
And the one we landed on was so small. They really it was one employee plus the owner. And then they did they subbed their tear off, and then he would hire guys to complete the projects. But back to your question, that's not why we landed on this one. But yes, California's model I've come to realize it's what we know, but yes, I've come to realize we're the weirdos. And it's mostly because of the employment laws in California. So
Yeah.
California looks at itself as the savior to all other states. All the other states don't know what they're doing, and here we're going to show you. And so, not my rules. That's how they think. And what we've obviously we learn how to navigate through those properly. But the whole idea is they want to take care of the employee. They look at employers, corporations, right? They look at the employers. You're trying to suck all the juice out of your employees and pay them nothing. And so they put protections in line. This is actually probably a very simple summary. If someone really is looking at like, why the heck do they do it? That's the reason behind it. Anyway, so if I were to subcontract our labor, I run into some brick walls, I guess is the short version. There's certain things I can sub, but it becomes so much of a burden to subcontract. It actually makes it easier, which sounds weird to say it, but it actually makes it easier to hire your own team. So that's what not all, but that's what most companies do. That's what we've done. But then with an employee, you have a way better opportunity to train. There's not as many quality issues. The only sort of risk that people think is like, oh, well, they're just going to be, draining 8 hours a day. Even if the job took 5 hours, they're going to be sitting for 8. Well, that's a management problem. Yeah, you got to work on that. That's a possibility. We don't have that issue. But that takes time. You have one crew that stretches a 5-hour job into an 8-hour job. You deal with that. You handle that. But as of now, most people think of it as this big change. We're already in it, and we already do it, and it works. And for the same note, they make it really difficult to pay commissions, but there's a safe and legal way. I don't want to say around it, but to work with that, and you can still have a commission incentivized sales team. That's all of our team is on commissions. But you have to do it right, because you can get smoked if you'd be out of business tomorrow if you do one thing wrong. So that's another weird thing. But again, there's no 1099s. It's all W-2s. They're all part of our team. But I also feel like the benefit, not only to the employee, but to the company, is way more loyalty from our team compared to others. Like I say, if you call friends with multiple roofing companies across the U.S., and like doing repairs is often a huge debacle. Their install crews only want to do a new roof. They got the piece rates for a new roof. They know how long they're going to take. It's, roof in a day, whatever. And then they say, hey, I got this $2,000 repair. They're like, nah, call someone else. And we don't have that issue. Yes, we could still make money on a $2,000 repair and take care of the client. And, anyway, it works out, but it is a whole different mind shift. I mean, it really is a whole different animal. So admittedly, it's different, but it works out. It works out great.
Yeah. And that's really what I see the disadvantage for most companies across the country, is that they're not able to capture the repair work.
Yes. There has been a
That's
model.
great work.
Oh, it really is. You can charge more for it, one, because it's small. There's a few trips involved, so you got to pay for that. The clients are happy to pay because they're not paying 20 grand. They're paying 3 grand, 4 grand, whatever. And the one model, just as a tip, that I've heard other companies use, is actually a percentage of the total, which is kind of an odd way to think about it. But for the install crew, again, if it's a crew, not in-house, that's different. But you pay a percentage, 10%, 15, 20. I've heard various numbers. So let's say if it's a, I don't know, $3,000 repair, 15% would be $450. Hey, I got $450. This kind of fits with the piece rate mentality of install crews, sub crews. I got $450 to rebuild this valley or whatever. And they can take it or leave it. And you can go through a few different crews, and then you'll find one that's like, oh, yeah, well, if you give me 3 a day, we'll do them, or something like that. And it works out really well. I've heard of that working. Our teams are different setup. But the point is, for your listeners, since there's 49 other states other than California, that actually is a way to get repair work, but also able to solve that problem of getting crews to do it.
Yeah, if you have it, if it's consistent, right? If you're not just calling them up, hey, tomorrow can you do this?
That doesn't work.
That doesn't work, right? But here's the reality of it from a marketing perspective, because that's where I come from, right? Is the reality is, people call for repair.
Yes.
They don't want to buy a roof. We all know this.
Yes.
It's not the, even if it's only for the cost of your insurance deductible, a lot of times they still don't want to buy the roof, right?
Yeah.
And so, that repair is such an impactful thing, and it's a relationship builder.
Yeah.
And so you've had to build teams, right? You've had to build crews. You've had to develop training systems and process and checklists and all kinds of stuff, I would assume, for your crews. For the majority out there that doesn't have to build a crew and doesn't have to hire a crew, let's get some thoughts on that. What are some things some lessons you've learned along the way doing that?
The biggest thing I'd say is to hire the right people who are in charge of that department. So we have our production manager. He's had his own roofing company for 20 years. Then he worked for other roofing companies building theirs out. I stole them. There's no secret. I don't, I'm not shameful. I'd known him. Everybody kind of knows everybody in the industry.
We call it recruiting, Seth, right?
I call it stealing. It's fine. And no, he's one example. Our controller's another. They worked for okay companies. I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, but they just weren't growing, weren't happy. There wasn't an opportunity to, grow and get raises and, that kind of thing. And with a growing company like ours, there is a lot of that. So then they recruit who they know and they recruit who they know. And the point is, I wish I could take credit for it and say, oh, I built the whole team, all of our guys. That is not the case at all. It's completely opposite. But where I can take credit and my advice to answer your question is to make sure in those key roles, you have the best people that you can afford. And even when you think you can't afford them, still pay it because they will be ambassadors for your team and they're out preaching, about how great it is to work here. Another thing, like we talked about employees, yes, it does cost more because you have employment tax and, all those things. We also choose to, we don't have to, there's no laws for this, but we have paid time off for everybody on the whole crew, even the tear-off guys, everything. We have 401k with a match. We have health insurance for their families. And anyway, we cover a lot of benefits. Yes, that costs money. But if you tell the clients that, they either like it or they don't. If they don't, they're not a good customer for us. That's totally okay. If they do, then they sort of buy into your whole, ether, if you will. And they just love what we're doing for our team, what the team does for them, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, as a whole, California per square is significantly more than, let's say, Texas, Florida. But once you're here, it's just a little bit more to do it in my mind, the right way, right? Paying benefits and, paying for training. We just yesterday, we had TPO training. We're opening up with a new manufacturer. All the foremen from all the crews were all sitting in the warehouse, not making any money for the company, I should say, but they're getting paid. We got breakfast, we got lunch. Anyway, the point is that all costs money, but it's, in my opinion, the only way to grow your team.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the things I heard there, and it's something that happens. And I want to frame this for people in a couple of different ways. The first thing is you hired, what I heard was it's your production manager that came from that you recruited.
Yes.
You recruited, right?
Exactly.
Recruited. Recruited this production manager. That production manager has built relationships through the years, right? And I mean, I've seen it. Owners who have, moved on or sold their companies, and then a couple of years later started up again, and they were like 0 to 8 figures overnight.
Yes.
And the reason that they went to a different market or whatever it was, it's because they built the relationships.
Yes.
It wasn't just the customer relationships that they built, it was the team relationships that they built. And so they were able to, hey, I'm going over here. Or, a good sales manager will do that. A good production manager will do that. Good team members it'll happen to you. So if you don't keep them and they do go somewhere else, they're going to get some people that probably go with them.
Yes. That's the other
It's,
bit of
you
a
know,
risk, but I was willing to take that risk, you know?
yeah.
Only
But that's a good risk. If you're willing to put the effort in and like you said, I'm going to take care of this person. I'm going to make sure they're really, that they're on the higher end of the pay scale. I'm going to, they if you're going to make sure that you create a home for them, that they don't want to leave, right? That's a big thing. And so, for people who are, starting to move up in those levels, if you're looking for a sales manager or something like that, and that might be part of the like interview process of, hey, do you know, do you know some good sales reps too? Or how would you, how would you be recruiting new sales reps to our company? And if they say, well, I don't know anyone and I'm going to just, walk around town with a sign saying, roofing sales reps needed,
Yes.
that might be, that's a little different than, and
Yeah.
I know everyone in town,
Yeah, I got a whole
right?
roll of
Like
phones
I
full
got a
of
whole Rolodex, like,
exactly.
so that those are things to think about when you're hiring people also, or the relationships that they have. Um, so now you guys do residential and commercial. What are some, you know, what are some things that you found that enable you to do both within your company? Because
That's
I know a lot of contractors will struggle.
yes.
They do mostly residential, they go over to commercial, or they're mostly commercial, they go over to residential. They just can't get that, and I think you have a pretty, not an even split, but you have a close split between residential commercial, if I'm not mistaken.
I know you're enjoying the episode, but let's give a shout out to another one of our sponsors. I talk to contractors every day that feel stuck. Not because they're not working hard, but because they're missing the structure to growth without chaos. Or their culture's falling apart because their team's unclear, unaligned, or just burned out. And when change hits, they're reacting instead of leading because time and priorities aren't under their control. Day 41 Thrive helps to fix that with proven strategies for growth, culture, and leadership that actually work. Ready to thrive beyond the storm? Visit the link in the description or visit the Roofing Success Podcast website on the sponsors page to start your journey today.
Yes. No, just to give kind of a rough outlay, we're 100% retail, so we don't do any insurance work, mainly because it doesn't exist in California. We don't have a lot of wind or hail or any of that. But we are about 60% residential, about 40% commercial, just based on volume. But as far as quantity of jobs, gosh, it'd probably be 95% residential, 5%, because the commercial jobs are so much bigger. So it is an odd transition because the sales, that's more of a sales thing than a production thing. The sales cycle for residential, I think everybody on this call knows. You meet with them. If you can sell it right there, great. We don't use crazy high pressure, but then we'll follow up and see how we can help. And anyway, offer a couple options. That's about our sales process in 5 seconds. Commercial is completely different. You rarely get to talk to the decision makers. You have to fully document everything so that when you give your proposal, it goes through everything and hopefully shows the final decision maker that we actually focused and took our time and took photos and studied everything and went over options.
Mm-hmm.
And then it is a follow-up game. So we just started one right kind of around the corner from our office. I believe we first met with them 3 years ago. We gave them the proposal right away. Obviously, we've had to increase that proposal over the last 3 years. That was right in the middle of COVID and price increases and all that crazy stuff. Anyway, we've gone to the HOA meetings. We've gone to this and that. It's a big, not apartment complex, a condo complex. And anyway, point is, if we took the sort of residential route, if they didn't buy in the first couple weeks, they're, unless they call us back, they're out. Well, that's not the right way to do it because rarely is a commercial project ready to sign up. It takes time and there's multiple decision makers, usually not just one, sometimes. Usually there's multiple decision makers or a board or in a church, they have, their board, or if it's a school, it's a whole different thing because it's government. Anyway, we've done all those and it's just a longer process. But thing I always tell our team is there's a sale to be made on every appointment. So when you first go out there, you're closing the deal. It's not collecting money or a contract, but it's setting up the next appointment. So have you heard BAM FAM, book a meeting from a meeting?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you leave one without the other. And even if that meeting is just a call or a Zoom or a, point of communication, or so you set something up with the next one. Anyway, and then you have to respect all the decision makers. So even if you're just getting shown around by a maintenance guy or something, you still got to respect them. You don't want to try to just leap over them. You got to include them in communications and stuff. Anyway, there's multiple touch points. And then eventually they sign the contract. But if you've gone through all of that, effort to finally get to the contract, them signing the contract is not that big of a deal. It's like in residential, they come ringing the bell when they get back. Hey, I got one. It's totally different from commercial. Commercial, it's like a logical ending to a long, flourishing relationship, but it's just one little piece. So the point is, with all that being said, we've tried having totally separate departments. That didn't actually work. I always thought, all right, you're either a residential sales rep or a commercial sales rep. We've kind of blended it, actually about a year ago, so that if you're a sales rep here, you can go on a $500,000 commercial project and you can go on a $1,500 repair job on the same day, two appointments. But we are very quick to make sure that they have the temperament to see a project through all the way. And at the same note, make sure they have the temperament on the residential side to be able to ask for the business. And let's get this sold. You don't want to follow up 10 times for a $1,500 repair either. So anyway, it's trying to find that balance and found that some of the sales reps are better at one than the other, but they all get sort of a equal chance at them, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard many people say that they like to have sales reps combined in that area because there is such a different sales cycle. Why do you think that's worked for you?
As long as you watch it. So you're right. I'm not saying everybody has a chance, but at first, when you first join our team, we're going to hire a few more in January. We throw everything at you to see how you do. Some of the guys can do both. And I alluded to this, but some can't, just to say it. Yes.
Got it.
Some are not capable of one or the other. It goes both ways. And no one is good or better than the other one, but, basically we want to try it out. So every sales rep that comes in has some kind of background in sales. We try not to hire former roofing sales reps because they do things funky, different than we do. But you do have to have some kind of sales background because you got to know how to talk to people and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But eventually, by running all the different types of appointments with them, one will be their strong suit. Or like I say, some that are pretty equal. They're good at residential and they're good at commercial. The ones I found that are good at commercial usually are better at residential because they are good at follow-ups. They just won't try to close on the same day. So it's pros and cons. Which ones do you want? You just have to decide that and then hire accordingly.
Yeah, for sure. Let's switch gears a little bit. Back to your design build experience, right? That is, like you said, I think you said, I mean, you're with a customer for a long time. There's a lot of real creative things going on. They're very excited about that process. This is something that they've been waiting for a lot of times, right? For a long time. They're really excited to get it done. There's a very visual aesthetic. It's like, oh my goodness, this bathroom looks amazing. This, everything. How have you designed your customer experience or customer journey to have some of those elements in the roofing side?
No, that's a great question. And I've never really thought about the two, but I'll answer it with the design build side. There's a very real thing. The National Association of Home Builders calls it the emotional roller coaster. They have articles about it and everything. And basically, whether you're building a house or remodeling a house, it's exactly what you say. You're so excited. You start off, you're searching for a contractor. Then you finally find one. Okay, cool. Now I can relax. And then the design, maybe you see some 3D images or video walkthrough. You draw the plans, you're getting permits, you're doing the interior design selections. That's all super exciting. And then finally we get the permit and we start. Our permit process takes forever. I won't even bore you with all that. But we finally get permission and we can start. We do demolition, then foundation, then framing. Super exciting. But then all of that excitement crashes down at drywall because you get dust. It's so funny, the psychological effect, if you've ever built a house or seen something in construction. When it's framing, it's like really open. It looks like this is a 5,000 square foot house. And then as soon as you drywall it, it feels like it's 1,000 square. It's
Yeah.
weird, funny. And then furniture opens it up, and
Then you put cabinets in, cabinets and countertops. You're like, where this kitchen was big a little bit, like not long ago.
it feels way bigger. So the point is, most clients crash, right? And that's about the midway point of construction. So the point is, we as a company know that that's how every client's going to be. So in a sense, we actually kind of downplay the excitement at the beginning, but then pick them up before they fall, right before drywall. Hey, here's what it's going to be. It's going to be nasty and so dusty and really loud and really gross, so that when they go through it, it's like, oh, it wasn't really as bad as you thought. So to answer your question, knowing that on the design, build, remodel side, we'd rather pick them up before they fall on the roofing side. So some companies call it a happy call, pre-construction call, welcome call. Basically, right after you sign a contract with us, you're going to get a call from our client coordinator in the office. And they'll go over, hey, welcome to the team. It's still exciting. You're still keeping them, it's upbeat. The phone call is a positive phone call. But we also then talk about, okay, have you ever done a roofing project before? Most answers, no. Sometimes it's yes, but most of the times it's no. Okay, well, can I paint the picture for you? It's really loud and your roof is exposed and it's going to be scary and stuff's going to fall through if you have a, open beam ceiling, and your attic is going to be just dusted. And we paint all the worst stuff, and there's going to be no parking because of our trucks, and there's all this different stuff. But you pick the right team. We're going to take care of it. We're going to get you through it. But the point is, I've set the bar really low. Our sales team too, when we're out there painting the picture for them, we're not making it sound like roses and daisies and, it's going to be all beautiful, but they're also not telling them the horror picture either. So the point is, it's kind of like a mellow sales process, but then production, purposely, we want to bring it down a notch. So like, it'll be nice when it's done, but it's going to be really, really disruptive before. So therefore, since we've implemented that probably 3 years ago, the complaints, the stressed out phone calls, the what the heck is going on, all that stuff they're not eliminated. You always get one, but they've gone way down. It's so much better. So anyway, the point is, so bringing the two together, what we've learned on the design build side with much deepened emotions, because we're there for months and months and months and months, we were able to, take those lessons, kind of condense it. But really, the point is, what it all comes down to is properly set, if not lower, lower set expectations.
Lower set expectations, or because that's they don't do it very often. And it's the same thing on the remodel side, right? Or design build. Like you don't do this every day. We get so used to the process that it's like it's like, to us, yeah, that's what happens. I just had I had a new well put in at my lake, at my family's lake house, and like there was all kinds of stuff that came up, and I was like, why wouldn't you tell me about this? And they were just like, I mean, but to them, they just do it every day.
Yeah.
It's not like, yeah, this is what, you don't know that this is how it works. Like, no,
Yeah.
I don't do this. Like, how often do you get a new well? Like,
no, and that's wow. In California, we have termites. We have a little rain, believe it or not. So you get a lot of wood damage, and sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's $500. Sometimes it's a couple $1,000. And so we have that conversation. The superintendent will talk to the owner. Here's what it is. We always hand deliver those change orders. And we train on that. The guys we have now are great. But the point is, we have to tell them that, exactly like you're saying. They're used to it. They saw 3 change orders last week. This is no big deal. But that's not your money. You're not the one surprised with, this sucks. The whole thing sucks. So you got to commiserate with them and, give them a hug, sometimes literally, but, figuratively. You got to say, I'm so sorry. It's, this is what we found, and it's recommended. It's not really required, but, it's highly recommended. Anyway, here's what we found, and here's what we're sort of requesting to do. But you have to navigate that conversation in a smooth way without sounding like, hey, here's what it is. Give me an extra $600 or so. You got to have a little more feeling than that,
Yeah, it's there. You just have to set good expectations.
Yep.
If your customer is wondering, you're losing.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing. Like if that's what it comes down to. California markets is, if people don't know, everyone thinks Dallas is the most competitive market. There's 8,000 contractors. There's a couple in California too.
Yeah.
How do you set yourself apart in a crowded market like Southern California?
I know you're enjoying the episode, but let's give a shout out to another one of our sponsors. If you and your team aren't trained on AI yet, you're already falling behind. Competitors using AI are generating more leads, closing jobs faster, and running leaner. The AI roofing revolution gives your team the training to implement AI so you stay ahead, not scramble to catch up. Don't wait until you're losing. Get trained now at the link in the description or the sponsors page of the Roofing Success Podcast website.
How do you set yourself apart in a crowded market like Southern California?
No, that's a good question. There are quite a few. The thing out here that we have to deal with is California is a licensing state. You have to have a contractor's license. But obviously there are a lot of guys that don't. And without that license, you think they're going to get insurance or workers' comp or, any of that kind of stuff? Of course not. So obviously they can do it cheaper. It doesn't mean they're doing it cheaper. It just means they're not paying for stuff they should. Well, typically we don't go against those kind of companies. What I mean is the unlicensed guys kind of fight amongst each other. The licensed guys, us, we sort of, fight against each other. The point is what we've decided to do a long time ago as a company is we don't just offer, we just do so many things, quote unquote, the right way that again, I am going to cost a little bit more than other companies. And if that's the end all, if that's the deciding factor, then I won't be a good fit for that, sort of type of customer. But for the ones that we would like to do, people that do appreciate the extra mile we go with our employees, let alone on site, we haven't even talked about that, but we usually give 2 or 3 prices for each roof project. Price one, we basically call like if it was your mom's house and money wasn't a problem. So we're not putting solid gold in because your mom doesn't need that. That's ridiculous. But we're putting nice materials in, the best underlayment, we're Owens Corning Platinum. So we put in the platinum warranty and all the cool stuff. So you don't have to worry about it. Price 2 somewhere in the middle, but then price 3, if we can come up with 3, is basically like the least expensive way that we are willing to do it. And we emphasize that because there is always a cheaper way to do it. We are not willing to do that. And we emphasize that to show, hey, even if you pick this, it's going to be a nice roof, although it's not the best roof. And anyway, the point is we can find a fit for each of those type of clientele or, want to call them that. But again, I'm not a good fit for, fighting for, if we're 25,000 for a roof and they say we got a bid for 10, it's like, I don't even know where to start with you. If you're really asking me that question, we're just not a good fit. But the other thing, what I found is, the sales team does have a little bit of a story that they have to go through about the company, what we're about and what we do. And we donate, to 3 different charities in their name. They pick one of 3 is what I should say. That's kind of cool. Here's what we background check and drug test our team. We give them all these benefits and paid time off and stuff. That's cool. We platinum. So we do the give back through the Gary Sinise Foundation. If you've seen that, we put the roof on through Owens Corning. That's pretty cool. Here's how we train our staff. Here's how we train our sales team. Here's how we communicate with you during construction, all these different things. And if you've ever heard of the sales trainer, his name's Brian Tracy. From the 80s. He's super good dude. His whole thing is he calls it the flowering cherry tree. And he's talking about it in a real estate sense, but husband and wife are looking at a home and she sees this flowering cherry tree in the backyard. No matter where they stand in the house, she keeps looking at that. The point is every customer has a flowering cherry tree. Maybe it's the fact that we, train our team and that's it. And no one else does it that way and they love it. And that's the thing. And then maybe for a different customer, it's the fact that we offer financing and we don't charge them for it and we can help with that. The point is, out of the 20 really cool things that we do, you don't know which one the client's going to like. And let's say the last 5 customers really like financing. So you as the sales rep, you get a little lazy. You just think financing, that's all you're talking about. Well, they don't care about financing. So point is you have to go through all those things that we do, not just what we offer. This is what we do on every project. And then eventually you'll find one that fits with, each customer.
Do you train your sales reps to listen to kind of really identify that, or are they saying it and then that the customer will kind of attach to one of them or something like that?
A little bit of both. That's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah, you do. You ask a few questions, but sometimes you never know. They don't want to tell you because if they tell you, then you're going to squeeze it,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you really just need to go over all of those in a non-salesy way. Like you don't sit them down and say, "Here, read this book," or but you just kind of talk. It comes out in conversation. And you just try to bring them all up. That has worked best for us.
What other lessons have you learned along the way here?
Oh man, too many. Really, the latest thing that I've been focusing on a lot lately is, well, let me preface it with, I was able to exit the day-to-day of our construction company years ago. So I've learned that those disciplines really is the word for it. It's not skill. It's more discipline of getting the heck out of somebody's way. So I guess a lesson I've learned is sometimes when you think you need to jump back in and everything's failing and I need to solve this, that's not the right answer usually. Usually it's being inquisitive and find out exactly what the problem is. And then seeing if the team needs your help, you ask them. But really the point is get out of their way and let the team handle it. If you did a good job, that's your job. My job is hiring the team. And then if you let them do their job, sometimes you got to, kind of set them in the right direction. Typically they'll do it. And the other thing that's kind of tied to that is whenever there's an issue, let's say with a client that's escalating and they want to talk to the owner or someone that's refusing to pay and it might go to legal or any of those kind of things, usually most business owners, again, would try to dive in and be the hero with the customer. They want that good relationship. And for better or worse, I've actually taken the opposite approach that the client doesn't want to talk to me. I will look at it very black and white. Here's the contract. Here's how much you owe. If you want to try to work it out, you need to talk to our team, but otherwise it stops with me. And it's worked really, really well. I'm not that guy. I'm not, a jerk, but for those kind of things, I look at it as if a client, our contracts are about 30 pages because we go through options and cool things and it's long. But the point is I've had this conversation many a times. I have 30 pages of what I'm going to do. And at the bottom of one is what you're going to do, which is you pay this amount. That's it. That's all I'm asking of you. And you have refused to do that. So now we have to talk. So the point is I look at it, and I really do, as if I'm put there to protect our team because this client is trying to not pay our team. You know what I mean? It's really how I look at it. It's very black and white. So typically I'm able to solve those. I don't make any friends with the customers, but whenever there's an issue or that kind of thing, I want the client to be happy to go back to the team, not always automatically jump on me, if that makes any sense. I don't want to solve, I want our team to solve the problems. I want to solve the problems for our team. Anyway, that's sort of a new lesson that I've learned over the last couple of years, and it's been working really well.
Yeah, it is a get out of the way. And but I like how you frame that in like, if it gets to you, you're not going to just give in.
No.
Right? Like that's a lot of times that's what that homeowner or customer is looking for. That's why they're looking for the owner, because the owner can do something, right? The owner will do something.
Yeah. And they almost expect it, which now it's like kind of a psychological move too, but that's not why I'm doing it. But yeah, I don't want to give in because then I'm the hero. And then if they tell their friends, even if I know I could turn that thing around and they're happy, they're going to say, hey, if you ever have a problem, you need to go straight to the owner. That's not the point. we do
That's
have,
right.
and again, I can only say this because we do have an amazing team. But the point is, if you have an amazing team, I feel like that's the right way to go, because then the team is empowered to solve problems. Even if they truly believe, my team, that is, that the right way to handle this is to give a credit back or to go back out and fix something or whatever it happens to be, I'm totally supportive. I can't say to do one thing and then I beat them up if they do that exact thing. So anyhow, it's the reason I even bring this up is the more business owners I talk to, the more completely backwards this is to the norm, but it's worked
It
really
is.
well. So I think if you have the discipline and you actually see the bigger picture that I'm talking about, it's a great way to handle potential conflicts.
Yeah, definitely. And the other side of that is the contract. Um, one of my old attorneys would say, "Why, Jim, do you know why they call them contractors? Because they work off of a contract."
Yeah, exactly.
Like
That's funny.
that's and so in that, knowing your contract, having a great contract, making sure that it's outlined well, and like you're saying, we're going to do all of these things, you're going to do one thing.
That's
I
it.
love that, right? Like we've outlined everything that we're going to do in great detail. And I'm
Yes.
sure that California contract is 30 pages for a good reason, right? There's probably some
That's part of it. There's a
there's
lot of
our joke. That's right. There's a but because of that, like if you're really saying like this is what we're going to do, and your contract really is tight about that, then if you did what you're supposed to do, yeah, you'll take care of it. Now your team can also have um uh escalate, no, or not escalation flexibility, but fixing problem flexibility, right? Where you can say, hey, we're going to rip a screen every now and then. We're going to do stuff. We're going to tear out someone's rose bush every now and then. Like we're going to, something's going to happen. Here's the protocol. Here's the process. Here's how to handle that. And make sure that we still get that 5-star review at the end of it.
and yeah, they do have that autonomy. And the other thing is I don't have any hard rules on stuff like that. Like for instance, like you just
Yeah.
said, rip screen. I think 2 weeks ago I heard about one. That doesn't come to me. They just go do it. But let's say if I had a fixed, I don't know, $500, you can spend 500 to fix anything. And let's say we broke something that cost 600. Now they got to come to me. And the point is our rule isn't that rigid. It's just use your best judgment. If it costs 600, that's great. Still send them a dinner gift card to say sorry and fix the thing. You know what I mean? So the point is they know that. And it all comes back to if you hire the right people that mean well, they know what the heck they're doing. They really care about the customer. Because I've realized everything I've said the last 5 minutes makes it sound like I'm just like, no, against the customer. That's not it at all. Because I know our whole team truly does care about the customer. They're working every day for the customer. So anyway, if you have that team in place, then you as the business owner can do this kind of weird modified way of of escalations.
Yeah, and it really does come down to the team, and I would assume that that's what you would give advice to someone on, about scaling and things like that. So I'll end with this: is how do you find those people?
That's a good one. Is it Jim Collins, Good to Great, where he
Mhm.
talks about finding the right seat on the bus and that kind of thing. I guess I see it that way as we've hired people without knowing where they're going to go, but they're just good people. And then we try to find a spot for them. Hey, would you like sales? Do you like production? How's your mind working? Anyway, we have done that. It's hard to do, but it's a little risky. But the point is, I truly do believe that if you find the right person, you'll just know it. Like you could interview 100 people and there's a couple good ones in there. But then you come across someone who, I'll touch on this in a second. You just know that they'd be a good fit. You just have to hire them. The thing is, what I said I was going to come back to, typically those kind of people already have a job. It just is what it is. And I'm not trying to sit here on the sidelines waiting for 10 years for someone to leave. I'm not above reaching out or triangulating my way to them, talking to someone else that works at the company or someone else they know at the supply house, let's say, or whatever. Planting the seed, seeing them at a golf tournament, sometimes even a little more aggressive of just calling. The point is, again, you can't do that. All right, you can't just go around. I can't call you, Jim, and say, hey, I heard you're great. Come over here. Unless I have a spot for you and I know I want to hire you. I can't. That's bad. But if I know for sure you'd be an amazing fit, you're already doing this role over here, and I want you, that does not bother me one bit to start, stalking you a little.
That's right. So steal the people. That's Seth's advice, or I would say recruit, right?
Recruit if you can, but if that doesn't work at first, then resort to theft.
That's recruiting. That's recruiting. So, that's all part of the process. They do it in every industry. If you're really in corporate America, there's headhunters going through LinkedIn profiles all day long.
Yes.
Hey, you interested? Hey, you interested? Hey, you interested?
I'm glad you bring that up because we have a great culture to where no one's really afraid to bring that up. So just last week, a guy said he got 2 phone calls from recruiters and, hey, what's going on? You want to come over here? You want to come over there? And it's cool that our team is comfortable enough to bring that up to me. Usually it's like kind of this weird, dirty secret. It's like, that's how the world works. It's no big secret.
That's right.
And how I would say it, like I've mentioned in plenty of, stealing attempts. If you're not happy there, you should leave, whether it's here or somewhere else. And for the same note, I can't say that without saying it to our current team. If you're not happy here, let me help find somewhere else. Life's way too short to work somewhere that sucks. So we have to set them a place, an environment that they can thrive, not just expect them to, do whatever we say.
That's for sure, man. Well, Seth, it's been awesome. Thanks for your time today. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com. While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.